So let's move on to the third and final topic. We're, let's talk about playoffs. So what teams do you think will make the playoffs? What teams do you not, imagining making the playoffs? And roughly where do we see them making the playoffs? Um, I know we were talking about this before too, and the West is just a mission. It's going to be so hard to make the playoffs in the West if you're not one of the top teams. Um, there's only a couple teams that you can say you feel pretty confident they're not going to make the playoffs. I mean, anyone could, I guess, technically, but
Yeah, it's wide open for everybody.
so let's go over division. We'll just talk about if they'll make the playoffs in the West. So Lakers, I think we imagine they'll make the playoffs this year.
Yep.
This is all barring any injury, and there's no way you could predict that. Clippers shouldn't be able to make the playoffs this year. Phoenix, I think Phoenix has a real shot at making the playoffs now.
I think Phoenix absolutely does. Yeah.
I think that's a really good team for Chris Paul to be on with the great spot up shooter and then lobbing it to Ayton. So Phoenix, that's 3 already. Sacramento, I don't think Sacramento has a shot making the playoffs.
No, me neither.
They have been kind of getting close, but I think this is the year they go way down. So that's 3 out of 4 in just the Pacific Division. Golden State, I think
they make it.
Could make the playoffs.
I think they could.
I think they can make the playoffs, but I wouldn't be surprised if they don't make the playoffs again. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't make the playoffs. But I think they will make the playoffs. So that's 4 teams. So Houston, I think the way Houston is now, I do think they make the playoffs. Do you think they make the playoffs?
I think they're in for now, but let's go over a couple more teams.
Okay, so that's 5. Dallas, they're going to make the playoffs, right?
Absolutely.
That's 6. Memphis is on the cusp, I think.
I think they're out this year.
You think they're out?
Yeah,
I think they're right there. I think if they don't make the
playoffs, no, dude, they're definitely 8th or 9th seed. There's no doubt. And here's another thing that we're not talking about. They might do a play-in game again this year.
Right. I heard they're probably going to do that, which I think they should. San Antonio.
Yeah. Nah, I think they're done.
And then New Orleans. I think New Orleans makes the playoffs, or they're right there.
I think they're
right there with Memphis. Denver. They're going to make the playoffs. So I'm already at 9. I'm already at 9 teams. Oklahoma City, I don't think will make the playoffs. I don't think they want to make the playoffs right now. Utah.
I think they have a shot.
You think they have a shot? I think
they have a shot.
I think they're going to be improved next year. So that's 10. And then Portland.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's 11. And then Minnesota.
They might hang around.
That's 12. That's 12 teams that are very strong to make the playoffs. So what teams would you not feel confident with if you had the bet they're not going to make the playoffs?
Memphis.
So Memphis you take out.
Yeah, Memphis would be out. Man, you're right. Maybe the Warriors might be out.
Warriors are out.
Yeah, and then it's going to be, the Pelicans. Even though I really think they have a shot. And
I'm going to go with Minnesota. I'm going to say Minnesota.
Minnesota, yeah. Minnesota,
that's 9. And if you say the Pelicans, that's 10.
Yeah.
So that would leave you with Utah, Denver, Dallas, Houston, Phoenix, Clippers, and Lakers. That's 7. So what other team? Oh, Portland. That'd be 8. Yeah, because I think Portland, they have Dame Lillard, and I think as long as you have Dame Lillard, I think they're going to be okay. They're definitely a good enough team to make the playoffs, I think.
I agree.
But man, that's tough because I could see Portland not making it and just missing it because they were the 8th seed last year, so I could see them just missing it and someone else taking their spot. Actually, I think that they won in the play-in game, so they just barely made it. So looking at the Eastern Conference, which I think this will be a little easier, we're going to have the opposite idea of it's not that they're so good, it's that, they're just not bad enough to not make the playoffs.
Right.
So you have Toronto. You think Toronto will make the playoffs?
I think they will.
I think they will. Yeah, Boston should make the playoffs. Philly should make the playoffs. Brooklyn should make the playoffs. That's 4 teams right there in the Atlantic Division. New York I don't think will make the playoffs.
Nope.
Milwaukee will make the playoffs. That's 5. Indiana most likely will make the playoffs. That's 6. Let's see. Chicago, I don't think makes the playoffs. Detroit, I don't think makes the playoffs. Cleveland, I don't think makes the playoffs. Do you think either of those? No, okay, so we're kind of feeling the same way. Miami makes the playoffs. That's 7.
7.
Orlando, they make the playoffs because I don't think they make the playoffs. They always seem to make it as one of the last seeds.
Yeah, and that may happen again this year, but just because the East is so bad.
I say.
Who's left?
You have Charlotte, Atlanta, and Washington, and honestly, I think.
Oh, we forgot about Atlanta. We forgot about Atlanta.
Either both of those teams will make the playoffs, or for sure one of those teams will make the playoffs.
No, I'm on the Atlanta bandwagon because they signed everybody in free agency. I thought they had the second best offseason besides the Lakers. They got ahead of what they're trying to do. They're trying to go young, but then I think they saw a vantage point where people want to play with Trae Young, and so they had the money in the cap space and they jumped on it. So good for them. It's good to see a small market do well like that.
Mark my words, though. So D'Antoni didn't take a job this year. I'm telling you, he's going to Atlanta next year. They're going to fire their coach, and D'Antoni's going to be the head coach.
Maybe. I mean, I when you said that, I thought it was a great idea. And think about it now. Could you imagine D'Antoni with those shooters? Gallinari with Young, with Bragovic?
It just looks like a D'Antoni team.
Oh, absolutely. What's the other guy's name? Kevin Hooter or Hater or whatever his name is? They got some really good shooters on that team.
Yeah, the only player that they have on their team that I don't like with their style is was their power
John Collins.
forward.
John Collins.
Collins, yeah, I don't like John Collins with that style. I don't think that works. I think this is his last year of his deal, so they're going to be most likely looking at trading him as well.
Yeah, I think they are.
And they just have Gallinari playing that position anyway. So honestly, who wouldn't be a bad player for that team? Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah, no.
Kyle Kuzma.
And I actually heard of a John Collins, Kyle Kuzma trade this year. Some people love John Collins, some people hate John Collins.
I'd do a 3-way trade if we can get something else.
Yeah.
The Lakers can get something else, a 3-way trade where John Collins, because he's a good player. He doesn't fit what we're trying to do.
Right.
I don't know what kind of 3-way trade. I'll look into that.
I just don't know what else the Lakers need. They have everything. I mean, to me,
I think they need a future. I think they need just future picks. Honestly,
I agree.
They did them
draft capital.
Maybe 1 first-round pick and maybe 2 second-round picks. I'd be fine with that. It would suck, but I'd be fine with that because of what we have, and that'd probably be better for everybody because Morris would get more playing time, and I really like Morris, and THT would get some playing time. So I think it'd probably work out better.
I definitely think that if Horton Tucker keeps on playing really well, I think when the trade deadline comes, I think they will trade Kuzma. They'll try to get as much as they can for him before the deadline.
Yeah, I think they're both on their rookie contract, so that actually would probably work. And then the Lakers just get a $5 million contract kind of guy who expires next year, and then they'd be fine. They'd be way better off that way. And then someone that they're just gonna let go anyway. I'll be interested to look at that. But so if you were to name, going back to the teams that we had, so you think the Lakers would be the number 1 seed, or
absolutely,
let's say top 3, right? If you had to name the 3 seeds, let's just go with that because it's really hard to predict the number 1 for sure seed. But I would say Denver would definitely be one of the top 3 seeds. I think the Lakers will be one of the top 3 seeds. I think Dallas will be one of the top 3 seeds. So those would be my top 3. And then I think the Clippers will be right after that. I think they'll be in the 4 because I think they're gonna man. I don't think they care either where they're like what you were talking about with the Lakers. You don't really care where you just want to make the playoffs and then you have the talent and go from there. I think the Clippers are going to be the exact same thing. They're going to load manage, especially this year. If any other year, they're going to load manage, and I think that'll land them somewhere in the 4-5 seed. So you figure 4-5 seed, Clippers, Houston, probably Clippers, Utah. Honestly, they're all kind of mashed up there because I wouldn't be surprised if Phoenix was even 5 seed next year.
I can see that.
Phoenix, Utah, Portland, I think Portland will probably be closer to the bottom end of being like a 7 or 8 seed. But yeah, so that's where we'd have it. I think Utah will. I think personally Utah will improve. I think Dallas will greatly improve. I think Houston will be maybe kind of closer to the bottom, maybe the 7th seed, 6, 7 seed kind of thing. And then, yeah, like we said, the Clippers kind of right there in the middle. Going to the Eastern Conference, who do you think's the best team in the East? You think Brooklyn will end up being the best team in the East?
I think Brooklyn is. Unless they don't self-implode, I think they are. I mean, they're so talented. You just don't know what the chemistry issues are going to be.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of thinking Boston might be the number 1 overall seed. I would say Boston, then I would say Brooklyn. I would say Milwaukee, then Philadelphia, and Miami. Because I don't really see Miami being the number 1 seed. I just don't think they'll have enough in the tank to win that many games to be the number 1 seed. Though there'll be very much a challenge once the playoffs come around. So I think that will be very interesting. I don't think Indiana's going to do really anything. They'll be closer to the end. I think personally, like I said, I think Washington and Atlanta make the playoffs. Though I don't think Washington will do anything once they make the playoffs. I just think they have enough noise. I think Westbrook will just pound that much basketball to win those games and get there. Bradley Beal's a really solid player. I think they make the playoffs. They just don't do anything once they get there. And I think Atlanta, I don't think they'll win a playoff round. And I wouldn't be surprised too if it's a first round Nets versus Atlanta. Like I said, the Nets like a 2 seed. If it's them and Atlanta as a 7 seed, and then D'Antoni becomes the coach after that. Because for whatever reason, it seems to always kind of work out that way, where you lose and then you get the coach, that on a winning team or whatnot comes over.
Yeah.
They're
really high on their coach in Atlanta, but you could be right because he's custom made for that team.
Yeah, it could turn in a second, especially when he becomes available, and if they get swept in the first round, and if Young's not happy with it, they're gonna
don't make the playoffs.
Or if they don't make the playoffs, I think he'll make the playoffs. But if he doesn't make the playoffs, I couldn't imagine him staying there for the following year. But yeah, that being said, I think Lakers repeat. What do you have as your prediction for the NBA Finals? I'm assuming Lakers, being from the West. Who do you say coming out of the East? You think Nets?
I just think it'd be fun with the Nets. Yeah, the Nets and Lakers, and talk about some firepower. And then,
Nets won't make it past the second round.
You might be right.
This was recorded. I'm telling you right now, we can look back in a year.
Yeah, they could crash and burn. I mean, I would.
They're gonna crash and burn.
They do. Yeah,
they're gonna crash.
It's gonna be fun to watch because, Kyrie Irving's so talented, but he's such a troubled young man when it comes to his personality traits.
So weird.
Yeah,
it's really weird too because you have 2 of the players. They're saying 2 of the players out of the whole NBA, the 2 worst players that you're going to want to have in New York because of their personality and how they don't really do well with the media. And you have the 2 worst players at that going into the biggest media place in the world in New York.
Right.
Brooklyn, right. Or, and what do you expect's going to happen? Like I heard, it was yesterday or whatever, he had his tail between his legs when he had the conversation, or maybe it was today. I heard he was like, oh yeah, I shouldn't have said that about, people are puppets and stuff. And now you're thinking that was a good idea to say? Who thought that would be a good idea? I mean, you're pretty much just giving the finger to the people you're going to be having to be working with in the near future, no matter where you go. And it's this is New York too. It's not like Cleveland, and that may be a problem where he was just so used to Cleveland, and Boston's something, but it's not New York. So, I mean, New York.
Well, I'm hoping that they do play the Lakers because LeBron he'll want to show Kyrie, who the king really is.
That'd be a good revenge story. I can't imagine them getting past the second round. I think
I think you can make an argument for everybody, right? I mean, Miami. Did they just get hot at the right time? Where they're just good shooters, they got hot at the right time. Can they do it again? Possibly not.
I could totally see them doing it again, but I could.
No, but yeah, they would have to do it again. Yeah, because like you said, they probably won't be a top seed. And then Milwaukee, other than Giannis, and they do not match up against the Lakers at all. Because Anthony would just take them.
The Lakers just have too much firepower. I don't think there's really okay. Let's even talk about it, right? So Toronto, it's not even a challenge. Like they're just gonna breeze right through them. Boston, maybe,
but I doubt it.
They have a pretty solid team. You have Kemba. You figure if what was his name, Jalen.
You talking about Marcus Smart, or are you talking about Jason Tatum?
Tatum, yeah. If he takes a big jump, I mean, maybe if he becomes an elite player, maybe. Brown's a solid player. I don't think he's a great player. He's a solid player. But I mean, I don't know. I think their team pretty much stops closer to that range. They're not very strong in the center. And I think at that point, Anthony Davis would kill them. Down low. And so you figure, okay, that Philadelphia maybe. I mean, they do have a talented team.
Yeah.
They put it all together. I don't know. I mean, at least Simmons can match up with LeBron. They have shooting now. They just added Danny Green.
Right.
They have Seth Curry's a really solid shooter. So I mean that wasn't a great improvement, I think, because they got shooters around him finally. You have Tobias Harris, who's pretty strong, and then you have Embiid. That would be a hard matchup. I think Anthony Davis would kind of fit onto him, but I mean that would be interesting. I think that would be probably the best matchup. If you're gonna try to beat the Lakers, I think that would probably be your best matchup. I just don't think they fit well together, and I think that's gonna be the problem. We were just talking about Marc Gasol. I mean, just like that. And you know what it'll remind me of? It'll remind probably a lot of people of is when his brother played. Because you figure as soon as Pau Gasol came to Lakers, it was like that. It was like clock. Everything went perfect. And you think usually it takes some time to get. It didn't, but and I think Marc Gasol will be the same way. I think everywhere he goes, it just kind of fits. Just because he's not really selfish kind of player. He just he's getting people open, and people trust him at that point. But you still let's see, Brooklyn. I don't think Brooklyn will get there, and I think even if they do, I don't see them beating the Lakers.
Yeah, I just don't think there's anybody in the East. I think everybody in the West is going to be a tougher challenge for the Lakers. They would get worn down. That's the only thing I can see is that the Lakers get worn down in the playoffs, and then the East beats them because the East is so easy. But I just think that like last year, the Lakers just got better in every series. They were battle tested. And think about this. They scored 131 points last night, and LeBron and AD didn't even play. That's amazing. And they made it look simple. And again, too, they had a really good shooting night. If we think that they're going to shoot, 71% the rest of the season, we're nuts, right?
Right.
It was fun to watch.
Yeah, but at the same point, I could see them doing that. I could see them not doing that, right? All season long. That makes sense. But at the same time, defensively, adding in LeBron James and Anthony Davis is going to hurt the other team a lot more. So, not be 133, but maybe 115, 120, and the other team scores even less points. Because I think what the Clippers scored 113, 109, something like that. You figure they scored 95 points. Lakers scored 115, 120. It's going to feel the same way, just not as much points. But I think a lot of these games, they're just going to kind of let their bench just kind of play it out. And hopefully they don't have to put LeBron James and Anthony Davis back in the game. Kind of play 3 quarters and kind of go from there. And hopefully they can beat them down pretty well. Or they just kind of spread them out and just that might not be a bad idea either if you just have Anthony Davis and LeBron James close the game. I mean, obviously they open the game too, but kind of in between, they have a lot longer breaks in between as well on the games that they play. And just not let those bench guys go. I mean, that might be another route for them to go.
Well, I think what's going to happen is that they're probably going to block teams by 20 or 30, and then even playing the fourth quarter, that's going to be their load management. That's what they used to do with Magic. Kareem and Magic and Worthy, they'd be up by 30 in the fourth quarter, and Pat Riley didn't even have to play them. That was, that was big. That was huge because they do that, 7, 8, 9, 10 games a year, and that's a lot of load management right there.
Yeah. All right, well, I think that will conclude our basketball talk. I appreciate your time, Coach. And
you got it.
I'll see you on the next one. And hopefully, the next one we'll probably just talk about how the season's already progressed. We'll probably be a little bit after Christmas, and maybe right around New Year's or so. Kind of just see how everything's going, because this year is going to be very interesting. Real quick before we end, the NBA, they only released the first half of the season games because they know games are going to have to be postponed,
Right,
have to be pushed out. So I think that was really smart because the NFL didn't think about that. I think that would have been really smart for the NFL to think about. But the NBA is even more contact than the NFL, just physically, just being that close because they're always banging bodies consistently throughout the whole game. So it'll be very interesting on how that goes, and we'll see how the second half goes, and hopefully they can complete it in around the summer. They'll probably push it out. I'd be more surprised if it doesn't go to at least July. Being with everything, I think they have it in their back pocket. I think they plan for June, and they're like, okay, if it goes into July, it is what it is.
they're good.
Figure even if it's at the very least, if it's just the playoffs going that way, that's what they'll do. So it'll be very interesting this year, and we'll be able to record it. But a couple of things that I've guaranteed is the Nets will not make it past the second round. D'Antoni will be the coach of the Atlanta Hawks next year, and the Lakers will win the championship, and Luka will be the MVP next year. Those are my
I like it. I like it.
Alrighty. Well, we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Beyond the Arc.